It's another day here on Splash Play NBA, and good news, the NBA Cup is back, so hopefully you like teams trying slightly more to make up for that point differential. That's a key part of the NBA Cup. We've also got a ton of injuries to dig into here. Let me put up the Chiron so I get some credibility up top. Let's get into it. Key things to know up top. So Giannis is going to be one of the chalk plays of the slate today. No Damian Lillard. He's in the concussion protocol, so that's a big one. Jason Tatum currently questionable. Obviously, if he's ruled out, going up a ton of usage for left behind Celtics, including probably Jaylen Brown the most. So there's some of the key things to know right away. Some other injuries important as well on the slate. Emmanuel Quickly, he's questionable right now. He actually has a new injury, sprained his elbow in addition to having the injured pelvis, I believe is what he had previously. So Quickly might be out again. Would open up RJ Barrett a little bit more, would open Pirtle slightly more as well. Trae Young out today as well is a pretty big one. Trae Young being out opens up Keaton Wallace. You see on the screen here, a 30-minute projection for him today for Stokastic, $3,200 salary. He has not been a great producer at 0.77 fantasy points per minute, but because of that value opening up here, a $3,200 guy who's going to be playing starter minutes, he is somebody who's another core play on the day. One other one to watch out for in the Bucks game. There's a faint shot that a guy named Ryan Rollins might start for the Bucks, who's been the backup point guard. Previously was Delon Wright. Delon Wright got shifted out of the rotation. Ryan Rollins is a guy who has looked not that impressive so far, but actually he's done some impressive things before with the Warriors. Also put up some big games in terms of summer league. And I think in the preseason too. So Ryan Rollins is a guy I have an eye on. If he starts, he's 3K flat. And he's actually been a pretty good producer, about a fantasy point per minute. So kind of the key things up top. We'll go game by game as we always do. George Mikan questionable tonight. He would not show up for the NBA Cup, I don't think. Only want to win the 100K if I leave 10K in salary on the table. You always have to max out your NBA salaries. Unfortunately, that is one of those things that not like NFL showdowns where you can get away with leaving a bunch of money on the table usually. So game by game here. Of course, at 4:30 as well, we'll hop over to the world of Unabated, look at the prop market. So if you want to see that part, stay tuned for that too. Atlanta, 108.3 or 108.3, Jesus, 103.8 implied points. Dyslexia on the tab as well for the NBA Cup. Jalen Johnson, the big beneficiary of no Trae Young out there. He's been killing it so far in the year. 24% usage rate, 15% assist rate, initiating a lot of plays as well to 20% assist rate. Let's say usage, whatever. Point being, though, I have him today for 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Jalen Johnson kind of runs the point from the top of the key a lot. Sort of my concern point for Keaton Wallace is that, yes, he is the point guard starter. Yes, he's the guy who's going to be bringing the ball up a lot. He's not going to be really running the offense in a real way. He might run it a little bit more. Keaton Wallace, also not a bad shooter, 62% true shooting. But Jalen Johnson's going to be the one who's largely initiating plays. So that's a concern point. If you watch Keaton Wallace play, you can go through some of the old NBA games as I did go through. If you have League Pass, just go game by game if you're curious about a player and just kind of scan for the moments here using Popcorn Machine. If you want to see when the guy's on the court, just kind of compare those two. Keaton Wallace, a lot of deferring. Basically, will bring the ball past the timeline and then start giving other guys the ball. So that's something I'd worry about with him. Good three-point shooter, though. The two ways he can get there, to me, in my mind, three-point shooting and really rebounding, maybe starting a place on the break would be one way for him to get there. And he's actually a pretty good steal guy. So steal guys, blocks, I think, are there from a little bit as well. So for Keaton Wallace, that's sort of your hope is like just the amount of court time allows him to pick up other stats because pure usage-wise, 15% usage on the year. It might go up a little bit without Trae Young, but it's really not going to go up that much. And he's been playing a good amount of his court time without Trae Young anyway. So that's sort of the risk point to say. I think Jalen Johnson has a lot of upside. Keaton Wallace, I think, looks good, but him at 70% ownership is sort of one of those decision points where huge value opening up, but he's not going to like come in and be a gunner. It's not like it's some highly touted rookie coming in. It is a young guy, but it is like somebody that is not coming in getting kind of full runway to do whatever they want. The rest of the team, Ariz Ashe had his one good game. Still, the projections are not that great for him. Now at 5,500. Dyson Daniels could benefit a little bit more. He's another guy that Keaton Wallace will probably be deferring to a good amount. Daniels, though, the rates without Trae Young don't really take a big leap up. On the year, he's also been not that impressive, even though he has had some good fantasy games. So I could see you taking the leap on Dyson Daniels with him being shooting guard, small forward eligible. But to me, not a player that I think is priority here, even though he's a 5X value. So perfectly playable, 10% ownership feels about right, / maybe more than enough. So I mentioned Jason Tatum questionable right now. So he's got 50 fantasy points tied up in him right now. Also along with a 33% usage rate, 24% assist rate. If you were to be out today, you're going to see Jaylen Brown take a big jump up. Derek White, Drew Holiday a little bit less so. Al Horford is also questionable in this game. And frankly, with it being an Atlanta team without Trae Young, I think it's possible both guys sit. So we'll know this one early. It's the first game on the slate. Of course, I'm going in the order here of the game start times. But it's one that's really important because if Tatum is out, it's going to change everything on the slate. It's going to make Brown a lot better play. Brown right now at 8,200 looks borderline playable. He'd look like honestly, he'd look like a smash play, I think, if Tatum were out. Derek White, I'd say closer to not playable right now, but when one of Jaylen Brown, one of the key players is out, that's when Derek White starts to do a little bit more. So he would look more playable. And Drew Holiday, I think, is cusp playable. He doesn't do a whole lot even when one of the guys is out, but still would look good enough, I think, with just having Tatum not dominating the ball as much as he would. And Boston on the front end of a back-to-back, well, there you go. It sucks because the NBA Cup's supposed to be the tournament where everybody tries, but I do think we're going to see some guys sitting today, maybe not trying as much. So many men's salary guards in play today. We're picking one. Are we flipping the build and paying up the point guard, shooting guard? If Rollins were starting, I would probably want to go his way. I think Ryan Rollins is a really interesting play. He shoots well. He contributes. He's pretty aggressive in terms of like trying to find his shot. He also could just stand in the corner, knock down some threes too. Keaton Wallace, I think I'm going to get with the field on. I ran a sim before the show. Where did I land on Keaton Wallace? Yeah, I got 85% Keaton Wallace in 100 lineups. So for Keaton Wallace, I have no issue with him overall. And I guess I should maybe put in my sim numbers in here too. No issue with him really in terms of like what he represents, which is just value to open up everything else. The concern point though is like if you just build a balanced build, like it's not going to project as well, but it can do better. So it's kind of a personal choice how you want to play that. With how sims work though, I tend to think like just play the cheap guy and let the sim tell you who to put in around that. So for me, I think Keaton Wallace, I'll play more of than not. And for Ryan Rollins, if he starts, I'll absolutely load up on him, but I don't know for sure yet because we're not going to know closer to game time. Everything else on Boston here, Horford to be okay if he's in. If Tatum's out, he'll look a little bit better as well, but really not a play I try to get to on the slate. There's a lot of obvious values to go to. Nothing on Boston looks that great if Tatum is in. If Tatum's out, completely different situation. Miami, 107.5 implied points. Detroit, 106.5 on their side. No Jimmy Butler for this one, so more usage opened up for these guys. Bam Adebayo has been playing well so far in the year. Today, I'd have him at 1.25 fantasy points per minute. Good matchup for Detroit. My projections do account for matchup too, so that's part of why you see the number be a little bit higher here than you might expect. For Tyler Hero, I've actually got him lower today for some reason. I didn't adjust Tyler Hero's rates because he's actually had longitudinally worse rates with Jimmy Butler off than he has had this year. 1.1 fantasy points per minute, though, is not bad. 27% usage, 25% assist rate in games without Jimmy Butler going back to last year. I think Hero's a good play. I'm a little confused as to why I'm low in him, but I think it's because my projections are giving a little bit more for Bam Adebayo and how he's played. He's historically taken a really big leap without Jimmy Butler, where he's got a 26% usage rate, 17% rebound rate, 21% assist rate. All of that would be up pretty much every category, as you can see right here. So Bam takes a much bigger jump up. Hero gets more work, but his work doesn't look that different, whereas Adebayo kind of looks like a different player. So that's how I'm looking at that. Thought I heard this morning that Bam's true shooting has been terrible this season, but getting more stocks. Yeah, 45% true shooting. You can see that category right here. Not a good number. Obviously, you would expect him to get a little bit better, even though he's probably not. Well, honestly, he's a big man. He should be doing better, but he is shooting a little bit more threes this year, or at least was earlier in the season. Let's see over here. I have the 3-point count on my other sheet with more data. He's shooting 2.4 3-pointers per game and shooting 18% on them. So he's either going to stop shooting threes at some point or they're going to start to fall a little bit more. And that would instantly boost his true shooting up a good amount. But anyway, point being, Bam Adebayo gets a little bit more of everything. I think he's probably the biggest beneficiary of no Butler. Hero and Rozier, though, going to get enough work. They're still in play. Nothing else here looks that good. Jaime Jaquez, I don't get why his price tag is so high. The minutes aren't there for him really either with a 21-minute projection. Haywood Highsmith taking some minutes as well, but still doesn't look good. Nothing on Miami looks important to me besides Bam, besides Hero, besides Rozier. Kind of a crowded rotation now with Love back in the mix as well. Detroit on their side, we got Cade Cunningham. I got as a pretty good value, 5.2x with a 47-point projection. On this slate, I think maybe goes a little bit underrepresented because there's nothing on Detroit that's being opened up really. It's just kind of the normal rotation. Jalen Duren is questionable, though. If he were out, Isaiah Stewart to pick up the start again probably wouldn't matter too much. You'll get some B-ball Paul Reed behind him theoretically if we do get Duren out. But besides that, nothing else looks that appealing here. I think Cade works. I think Tobias Harris, Turnip play. I'm not going to my way to get him. Ivy, I've liked a lot this year. 27% usage so far in the year, shooting pretty well. Actually, no, could do a little bit better, but shooting well enough for him at 55% true shooting and 0.94 fantasy points per minute. Besides that, I get Malik Beasley often. He's a good value. He's playing 26 minutes a game. Besides that, nothing I like in the trade. I think Cade's really it, and Ivy to a lesser extent. Charlotte 102.3 implied points here. No Bridges again. He'll be out for a few weeks. We do get Brandon Miller, who's been a big beneficiary so far of Bridges not being in. Miller's rates actually take a pretty big jump up to the point where I was thinking, like, I don't know if I want to have Miller be this high in terms of how it looks. But Miller, actually, I think I took him out for that reason because, like, Miller was becoming too good of a play. Miller, I think with his current rates looks good enough. I've got him at a 37.6 projection. If I were to give him the actual rates of court time without Bridges, he would become more like a 40-ish point player, and I don't really want to take that much away from LaMelo. So just off of that, I would say that Brandon Miller is still probably a good play, even with the salary coming up a little bit. But I don't want to have him be like a slate-defining play for me, so I've got him kind of marked here. I'm still above Stokastic, but not crazily above Stokastic. LaMelo Ball looks pretty good as well. He's been really shooting the ball a lot this year. 38% usage. In court time without Bridges, it goes up to like 44% or something. So like expect that to come down a little bit based off the historical sample, especially with Miller in there now, gobbling up a good amount of shots. For LaMelo Ball, though, like the usage is there for him in these matchups. And again, it's a tough spot against Orlando overall. Orlando has shut down another guy like last week in Brandon Ingram in his spot without Zion Williamson. But I think for LaMelo, at an 8% ownership, he's got tournament winning upside. I think not a crazy play, even though there's certainly better ways to spend up on the slate, which, again, guy in the cover, Giannis, is going to be the guy that's in every lineup tonight as the pay-up option. Miller, we talked about, I think a valid play. I've got him as a pretty good value here at 5.7x. Everything else here, not that good. Cody Martin and Trey Mann being out. They're both questionable right now. Cody Martin, a late illness. Trey Mann, I forget what he has. But if those guys were out, it would open up a little bit more in the rotation potentially. Might just be Seth Curry taking more minutes if those guys are out, but I think you'd get more on the wing for Brandon Miller potentially, a little bit more in the backcourt for LaMelo. Something to watch out for, just a few more minutes for LaMelo and Brandon Miller would make them look like, I think, a lot better plays, and they're already pretty good plays. Orlando on their side, Goga Bitadze still looks good to me, but really not a standout play. Going to be 28% owned. His salary at 5,300 feels pretty good at 26 minutes. I have him projected today for 1.2 fantasy points per minute. He's been rock solid. I really don't have an issue with Goga, besides the fact that there's just a lot of games, a lot of different ways you can play center today. And Cat, like I like to pay up for Cat a good amount today. Maybe some risk on that with the match with Embiid. But I think Goga at his price point of 5,300 looks pretty good if you're playing a more balanced kind of build. Franz Wagner's gone off lately. His rates overall without Banchero on the court are actually not that great. So I've kept his rates for what they are in the year. He's been 29% usage, 29% assist rate. True shooting around 56% is pretty good. Could be a little bit better, but it's perfectly fine. No issue with Franz, but the price tag is up. So I don't think a core play for me today. But he's going to be 12% owned. Jalen Suggs, the price tag's come up enough as well for him that I don't really want to be there too much at this point. Still projects okay, 5.3x value, but it's 7,400. A lot of the upside's kind of been squeezed out of that, I think, at this point. Unless somebody like Franz were out, then maybe we could relook at Suggs. I think Goga's really the main play here, and Mo Wagner, less of a play, but these guys are basically splitting the center minutes overall. New York, I continue to have Towns projected really well, but New York 107.8 implied points here. Towns' rates on the year have been great. He's putting up 1.4 fantasy points per minute, 1.41 if you want to be accurate. It's the decimal point, but he got 28% usage, 22% rebound rate. He's been really good shooting well, 65.5%. He's also not defending well, so maybe it's a certain point that could lead to a bit of a minutes cut. But honestly, it seems like Tibbs is kind of going, hey, we don't need to play defense as much because exactly get that out of Towns anyway. But you might have seen the tweet, like he's given up, I think, 98% shooting inside the restricted area. So for Towns, he's not doing his job as a center. As a fantasy player, though, he's been one of the best. I think he should personally be priced like around 9K. He's not getting there yet, still at 8,700. So I think Towns a strong one for me. In my sim here, and again, I'll just put this on the screen if I can for tomorrow. I got Towns 33% of the time compared to 14% ownership. So I do think Towns is a strong play at his price point. At a certain point, Brunson's shot getting going a little bit more. I mean, he's doing okay right now. Feels like I'm kind of waiting for the shoe to drop for Towns' usage overall. But basically, it seems like Hart, Bridges, and Anunoby deferring more and more by the game as the offense kind of recenters around Towns and Brunson. And that is a good thing right now for Towns at his price point. But again, I do worry about him like going into the Embiid triangle. And for Embiid, whatever, 28.9 minutes projection we have here, like Towns can get into foul trouble. Towns can just get abused on that side. Always worry about Towns getting punked out. And so Embiid in particular being the one who does the punking out. From Philadelphia on their side, don't think Embiid is personally playable today. I'd have him projected for 1.6 fantasy points per minute based upon last year's data. For Embiid, he's going to lose a little bit of usage to Paul George, but it's going to be the same usage basically that he lost previously to Maxey. So I think that comes out in the wash. For Embiid, I think he's a good play on the slate. Hard for me to love the upside though, because he's not going to get you into mid 30s minutes. That said, he is going to be under 1% owned. He could put up 70 and honestly in 25 minutes. So for Embiid, it wouldn't be a crazy thing to do. And him emasculating Towns as somewhat chalk here, it's a narrative I could buy. So I'm not going to play it myself, but I do think that's one where if you wanted to play Embiid, in a 150 set especially, I wouldn't be mad at it. One thing to keep in mind too, $5 tournament on DraftKings today. So it is the NBA zone again. So I'm getting in about 10 entries, I think, today. Maybe a little bit less depending on how annoying Luka's being before it closes. But for you guys out there, if you have the time to 150 max tonight, I would say good night to do it because it is a cheaper entry fee. Toronto, 108.3 implied points. Milwaukee, 116.8. Toronto's side, we are waiting for the news on Quickly. Quickly's out. I think RJ Barrett's going to be playable. He's almost playable right now. His rate's been very good on the year, but Quickly coming in, 30% usage guy, 27% assist rate guy. Just takes too much off the table to play Barrett as he is at 8,300. But Quickly's out. I think Barrett's a strong enough play here. Against the Milwaukee team is going to be a little bit undermanned, obviously, with no Lillard tonight. Besides that, though, currently Barrett doesn't project that well. Pirtle not that well. Quickly, I wouldn't play either at 28.8 minutes. I honestly think he sits out again with the elbow thing. In fact, it's a new injury. We'll see what happens there. Nothing looks playable to me here, though. Yeah, Davion Mitchell, sad to say. If Quickly's back in, the Davion Mitchell days are over. Milwaukee on their side. So I still got a lot of Giannis. I actually have Giannis slightly higher projected than Stokastic today. I have him at 66.9. Stokastic I'm at 64.9. Basically, with Lillard not in the game, it's going to be just so much usage going Giannis's way. More assists upside for him as well. The offense should be completely heliocentric around him again. So I think that for Giannis at this point, he's a very obvious play. You can try to get around him. Like we saw yesterday. I mean, look, I had not a single Chicago Bull projected well. I was talking to my pal Josh Engelman on the Deeper Dive stream on Stokastic. We were both out on Wemby, out on the Bulls for the most part. And it's what happens, Wemby goes off. Maybe the new coaching is changing that situation a little bit more there is what would be my guess. But really, Patrick Williams, nobody in the industry had him projected well. It hits. So things can happen that are weird. On this slate, though, it's Giannis. It just, there isn't a Jokic pivot. There isn't really this high dollar pivot. So in terms of, Luka you could go to, I suppose. But projection wise, you're giving up 10 points in projection, maybe 8 in some of the more aggressive Luka projections out there. Giving up a lot of points to not play Giannis. So I think Giannis is a strong play. I'll be with the field on it, and I might just put him in every lineup tonight, depending upon how much time I have. Kind of nickel and dime it. Seems like you'll need 400 points to win 100K tonight. I think that wouldn't be crazy, especially if the value hits. Absolutely. But honestly, even the mid-range, I think there's enough plays there where a build without the value guys could also put up a lot of points. It's a good slate. There's enough mid-range value and kind of the very low value. If the really low value hits, then the chalk is going to be putting up 325, 350. That'd be my guess. The cash line might be 325. Besides that, from Milwaukee, wouldn't play Portis, wouldn't play Lopez. Everybody else here kind of rough to see. But Ryan Rollins, if he were to get minutes here, I've got him projected for 1 fantasy point per minute today. If he were to start, I think he's a good play. He's active. Again, gets some steals. Can create some assists as well if they give him any chance to do that. More importantly, he's going to knock down some open threes if they give him a shot. So he's been the backup. Sometimes they might just want to keep the rotation, keep Rollins at, whatever, 10 to 15 minutes instead of the 17 minutes projected here. But if he starts and were to get the Wallace kind of run out, I think that's a play to me that I would actually like more than Wallace. So Ryan Rollins to me, one of the more important plays on the slate to watch out for. It's kind of like Reed Shepherd yesterday. Reed Shepherd didn't get the start, came in and kind of cooked for as much as he was out there. I think that could happen with Rollins too, where it wouldn't be enough fantasy points off the bench. But if he starts, maybe he gets it going. Phoenix, no Kevin Durant. He's out for a few weeks. He got 116.5 implied points for them still going against Utah. So not a big loss. Devin Booker going to look like a much better play. 33% ownership going his way. His rates without Durant, I think I did put him in here because they were appreciably different. 31% usage for Kevin Booker without Durant. 37% assist rate. 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Bradley Beal without Kevin Durant gets you a 28% usage rate, 23% assist rate, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. Grayson Allen, who's also going to be chalk, gets you 20% usage, 13% assist rate, about 0.83 fantasy points per minute. All those guys look a lot better with Durant out. So getting Booker, getting Beal, no issue with it. The chalk is going to be Grayson Allen, though, because of the dual position eligibility and $3,700 salary. I think he's okay. Actually, I'm not sure where I got him sim-wise. So let me see if I can find that real fast. I did get Grayson Allen less of the field in my sim, 25% compared to 44% or 43% for the field. But I do have him projected a little bit lower. I've got him at 20.9 compared to 22.6. So that's probably the reason why. I think the real plays here you want in terms of trying to capture a ceiling, Booker, Beal. In terms of just getting value to open things up, I get Grayson Allen being a play. Royce O'Neal, I think a little bit more of a play too. Kind of a pivot point for Grayson Allen, but not really. And Tyus Jones is going to be forgotten in the mix here, but he does stand to gain a little bit more. Doesn't project that well for me, but I think in terms of the logic of it, I can see why it'd be a better play at 33 minutes than I'm probably giving him credit for. Sophie's Choice, Ryan Rawls or Nick Smith, NBA Darkness stud. Nick Smith is not somebody on my radar. Let me see what you're saying for that. To me, it's like Wallace or Rollins. Yeah, Nick Smith, I guess you're saying if Trey Mann is out. Even still, I don't think Nick Smith would really be a play because I'd have him at 0.6 fantasy points per minute. He'd be the worst of the three, but I guess it could open up a little bit more. I have a cheat code to roster Chamberlain's 100-point games. So that might make a boomer-ass reference by Steve. Yes, if you can make that work, more power to you. Tell me more about the love for Collins here. So no Walker Kessler today. So that's going up a lot of minutes for John Collins. Now, the big difference here for John Collins on this side of the equation, I'm projecting Collins to have his 2024 rates where he's been assisting more, rebounding more, shooting well enough. I mean, basically where he's been shooting historically anyway. Using the ball a little bit more at 27% usage. If you project him at his current run, you get a projection like mine, 39.2. If you project him based off the historical sample size of court time without Kessler, he's going to look more like last year John Collins and be closer to 34 fantasy points. So I want to get more Collins, so I gave him his current rates. I think he's a play I'm going to come over the top of. Dual position eligibility, 6,300, and he's put up 50 fantasy point games when getting starter run lately. The issue is having Markkanen back in maybe cuts his minutes upside a little bit because you're going to get Filipowski getting some more minutes. Like they could squeeze Collins a little bit off if they wanted to. But Collins closed last game when Kessler got hurt. I like Collins in this spot because I think they kind of need a big man in there. Would certainly help if Nurkic is going. The risk point, though, is that they do have Eubanks available to take some minutes. So I like Collins more in the field. I'll be above on Collins, but if you had reason to be concerned about him, it would be that they have a backup center in Eubanks. Markkanen is in now. Situation's kind of changed enough where his rates might not be 100% indicative of what he's going to be able to do today. He's getting a lot of court time as a backup five, so there's just less starters out there. Still dealing with Colin Sexton in that unit for the most part, but he's got a lot more court opportunity, whereas like playing alongside Markkanen, alongside George, alongside Clarkson with the starting group, he might not be the same play. So if I'm going to make the case for me, I think his rates have really been showing a different player, and he's also just really involved on like DHOs and stuff, like really simple kind of assists that he could make for himself in a way where I want to be there. But I think the case against him would just be that there's a lot of ways that he could sort of not be the permanent play he's been through a 10-game sample size so far. But yes, I'm very over on Collins, and my sim exposure to Collins as well before this would have been at 74%. So Collins to me, based on this projection, would be a core play on the slate. Stokastic does not agree though, but still 23% ownership. So you want to be conservative, just take the 23. Dallas, 116.3 implied points. Golden State, 118.8. On the Dallas side, I'm getting Derek Lively a good amount. Actually got Derek Lively in 20%-ish of my lineups, a little bit less than that. So Derek Lively, I think, looks like a strong play overall with his value. The issue, of course, you do have Gafford. These guys cleanly splitting all the center minutes here. 25-23 is the minutes breakdown favoring Derek Lively. But Lively at 5% ownership, I think gets the ownership product down a little bit at center. And it's kind of a pivot point as well to a chalkier Goga Batadze, I guess. So Lively, I'm okay with it, even though Gafford also looks playable to me. Just a little bit less of a good projection on him with a slight minutes difference. Besides that, I'm low on Luka today. As I mentioned, I would have about a 12-point difference between Luka and Giannis. Luka going to be a better tournament play as a result, just because, of course, I don't project them as well. Also, Giannis is going to be owned 70% of the time. Luka will be owned 11%. So very obvious price point pivot to go to Luka if you want. But Kyrie's in. I have a hard time going to Luka very much because Kyrie takes so much off the table. Klay Thompson now taking more off the table as well. Rebounding wise, you have two centers who take a little bit off the table there. So Luka to me just doesn't project to be the same guy this year. The rebound rate's down a little bit, assist rate's down a little bit. Like those are the things. And he's not shooting as well either. Like you could certainly get hot and shoot better, but like 1.4 fantasy points per minute. For comparison, you might have seen him above with Giannis. I would have Giannis going for 1.86 fantasy points per minute. So just a kind of chasm of a difference here. But, it's a Dallas Golden State game. So, like, they could go off and it could be a Luka Doncic, Steph Curry head-to-head gunslinger battle, and that can happen. But projection-wise, I don't see it. Najee Marshall still playable on the wing, but not an exciting play on this kind of slate. Look, I'm taking cheap value today, so the Najee Marshall guys I just don't think are a priority for me overall. And I don't think I got much Najee sim-wise either. Yeah, I got 6.7% Najee, so less than the field too. Kyrie at 3% owned looks nice. I get it. I just think there's enough really obvious value on the slate that a guy at 8,300 with an okay projection is not going to put me over the top. I do try to, but it is a personal choice thing too, where like you could hate the chalk, and in NBA, I do think the chalk's a little bit better, and you can find your ways around it. But if you don't want to play the chalk and go to Kyrie, like I get it, but like I'd rather have lineup builds that are not going Kyrie's way. And frankly, at that salary point, like I'd rather go get Booker for a little bit more expensive, I believe. I'd rather pay down and get Beal, I think would be another way to do that. Like Booker's salary is where? Yeah, Booker's at 88, Beal at 7, and those guys are going to get a pretty big boost without having Durant in. So to me, that's sort of the way I play NBA DFS. Like, where's the hole in usage or player opportunity because the salary is not accounting for that. And there really is one for Dallas. So that's sort of the main thing to me. Golden State, Steph Curry looks okay to me. 5.2x value for him at an $8,300 salary. And again, same thing in this game. Like, do you really want like Kyrie with Luka there? Or do you want Steph Curry where he's going to be the only thing probably playing Golden State into the game? Probably would rather have Steph Curry as a better value play. And also, like, I've got a higher projection on Steph. And it's like, if Golden State's going to put up 119, it's got to be a large portion of Steph Curry, you would think. So I prefer Steph in this game. Don't think I got a ton of Steph. Only 10% in the sim. We got a lot of D'Anthony Melton here. D'Anthony Melton, one of the core plays in the slate. I've got him at a 6.5x value. 32% ownership going his way. Sim-wise, though, I got 65%. So the sim, I would say, relative to my projections, sim thinks that Melton's a good play. It did not think that Rollins is currently a good play, though Rollins needs to get more minutes, I think, to get there. And it does think that Wallace is a good play up top. Keaton Wallace I had in 85% of my sim lineups. So the value guys to me on the slate would be Melton and Wallace on the DK slate. Minnesota here. We're going to go to Unabated in a moment as well, but we got to get through the last game here. Last game of the NBA Cup opening slate. We got Minnesota, 115 implied points. We'll also run the Stokastic sims as well, but I'll do that after Unabated, depending on how we time out here. Minnesota, a bunch of guys that project okay. I don't think I got any of them really. Let me make sure that's correct. Yeah, I got about 10% of Gobert, 10% of Dante DiVincenzo. Did get 24% of Mike Conley in the 150 set I ran before here. So Conley, a good value. His minutes got higher last game out. Not really entirely sure why. But Conley doesn't excite me very much. 0.86 fantasy points per minute, but I'd have him at 1.01 today based on the matchup and the total here. So I can live with Conley at 4,200. It's not a bad price tag. And frankly, if there is going to be a lot of ownership that does go Keaton Wallace's way, a lot of ownership that does go Ryan Rollins' way, potentially, I don't know if that one's going to happen or not. Conley's sort of the established pivot to that, where you're paying a little bit more, still getting some value, but you're not going to have as much upside. And on this slate, like where the chalk is going to go to those guys, I think Conley at 15% like makes a little bit more sense than he would on a normal slate like this, where people are paying for 6K point guard that has so much upside. Like he's just got to beat out guys that are basically career backups. So I think that for Conley, a little more logic on this slate to go there than there would be normally. Ryan freaking Rollins has gotten 12 minutes the last two games. Not a big leap to give him 20 anyway. Is it 12 the last two games? I thought on Popcorn Machine he played like 12 last time out. The main thing would be that they don't have a point guard. So Unabated, actually, one thing I will say for Unabated, of course, we're going to look at their data in a moment. Unabated does have a news update they put out with their projections, which I think is pretty interesting. They were speculating that it was going to be probably Gary Trent that would start overall. Oh, 12 each. Okay, that makes more sense. Here was Ryan Reynolds, the beautiful Ryan Reynolds stint. No, Ryan Rollins' stint last time. So he was basically the direct backup for Lillard here. Just came in, Lillard went out, Rollins came in. And the second half, Lillard went out, Rollins came in. So my hope would be, and this didn't work out yesterday with Shepard, because Shepard's been the direct backup for Fred VanVleet. The hope would be that Rollins, because he's been the direct backup, takes over the starting job, and they just see like, hey, what can you do out there? Like, let's see what happens. If he's just the backup, though, like they could play Gary Trent and play him at point guard, I guess, with Jackson. That'd be fine enough. So that's the alternative, and I think that's what Unabated expects. So Unabated does a good job with it. I just see direct backup, and I hope and pray that the direct backup becomes a starter. But teams, honestly, I feel like at NBA DFS a couple years ago, it used to be more of a thing where teams would go like, the star's out, direct backup, just give him 40 minutes. Probably not that. Probably not happening so much anymore. Is it a good claim, Koulibaly for Grady Dick? If you're going to, honestly, with Kuzma back in, probably not. If you're saying claim Koulibaly for Grady Dick, I'd probably just keep Grady Dick for now. I think Grady Dick's shown a little bit more growth. They're honestly not dissimilar plays, though. They're two guys who've benefited from the other players being out. Like Grady Dick's going to look less good with Quickly coming in, and then eventually Barnes coming back in. Koulibaly's going to look less good with Kuzma coming back in, so you got to have to just pick your poison there. But yeah, I would think in terms of DFS pricing, like Koulibaly will be higher priced generally, so I guess he would be the better play, but not really a strong one. Portland on their side. Portland, one of the worst projected teams you ever get. Nobody I would have on Portland projects for over 31 fantasy points. Despite these guys, I mean, they're all playing high 20s minutes. Portland last year did play their guys more for the NBA Cup. So there is a thing here with the NBA Cup where you're playing basically for points differential as like one of the key tiebreakers. So some teams really do push their guys to the limit more. In general, minutes averages go higher. So I guess it's possible that Portland will play their guys more. The issue is like, are they just going to get fucking smoked by Minnesota anyway? That's sort of the risk point. I would say on Minnesota side, if they're playing the NBA Cup seriously, like these guys here are projected for, low to mid 30s minutes. Maybe they get up to high 30s / mid 30s. And they can pour it on Portland. So I didn't really think about that part in advance here. But I would say in general, like for Portland's side, they just look awful. So that's really the main thing. But maybe there's something to keep in mind for everybody in general, that if it's a team that like is taking the NBA Cup seriously, they might play just like a few more minutes than would be projected currently. Even though I'm pretty sure Stokastic is accounting for a little bit of a minutes growth that would come here. And Dick has shown growth. That is true. There we go. Another stream mentioned Trent starting also. Trent has been so bad since he's, I mean, that's what I'm thinking is like, Trent's been bad. Why put him out there? I mean, maybe you're hoping a different role makes him look a little bit better. I'd be curious to see Ryan Rollins. He's been shooting well. Like, he adds a little bit in every category. That's what I'd be looking at. Anyway, you guys know the time here. It's 4:33. We got over to Unabated, look at their conditional NBA projections, see what we're getting in prop markets. And of course, we will look at Stokastic Sims as well today because I got to get out by 5. I got extra time today. Let's see what we got. They're not rank amateurs like the host you're watching right now. That's Unabated for you. Toggle guys in, toggle guys out. Zion Williamson, keep his ass toggled out. He's never fucking coming back in, it seems like. We got real-time NBA news, and they update in real time. Those Discord alerts are going off. Non-stop Discord alerts. In a good way. Look at that graph. I forgot to talk about the graph. I'm looking at this other tab. Check out that sweet-ass graph. They're doing a stream right now, I think. Stick with this one, but you could hang out with those guys, too. They seem like good hangs. You know the crowd is ready. Get ready. Okay, I got logged out somehow over here. All right, I'm loading up the Unabated screen on this tab. I was hoping to do it that time period. I was like, what's going wrong? But here we go. I think we're going to load now. Of course, Unabated's conditional NBA projections get $30 off. Use them for the betting markets. Going to see me use them on stream and on screen here in a moment. Hopefully they will load. There we go. All right. So let's look at points first. I like to have some order here. So we're going to sim these all out. Of course, Unabated, what it does is it takes projections in, then sims off of that to finding the best lines. So we're going to do that for all the top markets here. And we'll come up with some good bets for PrizePicks, Underdog, and the big books, DraftKings and FanDuel as well. Check the chats here. The old tick graphs, the MST 3K of ad reads. I think there's a lot of people who've done creative ad reads. So, I'm probably stealing from somebody in that respect. All right, best lines right now. Over for points on Jalen Suggs, over 15.5. A good one out of PrizePicks. 12.3% EV right now for Jalen Suggs. He's projected for 17.8 points. He's getting a 15.5 line. So that's actually a pretty inefficient line, and you're also getting enough EV to play this on FanDuel and DraftKings on over 15.5, minus 125 odds, and over 15.5, minus 120 odds. Goga Bitadze, value on the under 10.5. 8.6% EV at minus 110 odds, under 10.5 points for Bitadze. He's predicted for 10.1 today. Franz Wagner getting some value on the over. It's always weird that these are kind of sorted little more teamy than you would think. Anyway, Contavious Caldwell-Pope here, or Franz Wagner I was reading. Franz Wagner, value on over 24.5, plus 100 odds on that one, 8.3% EV on FanDuel Sportsbook right now. The lines, okay, well, we're moving around here. Jalen Suggs, oh no, under. No, we don't agree with this one, but there's value. If you're going to hedge against my DFS plays, value on the John Collins under 15.5 points, 9.3% EV. I am sure they are looking at more of a holistic, longer-term view, as many of these sharp data people do, but I like to try to ride trends a little bit more with my data. And I've got John Collins, where's my points projection, just so I can rebut the team of brilliant data scientists. I would have Collins today at 18.7 points. So throw this one out. But if you want to tie break it, you want to fade me, take the John Collins line under 15.5. Keontae George under 15.5, plus 102 odds on that one, a plus money bet, 8.9% EV for Keontae George. He has a 15.4 point projection from Unabated to take under 15.5. Gogo Batatse, we talked about him, value on the under 10.5. And Lauri Markkanen, some value on under 21.5 for him. So I guess just looking for the Jazz to score less than expected here based on the primary markets. But 8.5% EV on Lauri Markkanen, under 21.5 points. That one's available on DK Sportsbook for minus 120 odds. Let's go to rebounds next. You're mad at my sponsor. Oh, no. I mean, you should be. The John Collins insults. But again, really, though, like having fact checks, if you make your own projections, something to run them against yourself is an important thing. So I'll keep that in mind. Also, I'm realizing why some of these aren't showing is because I just have guys out for players. So I think we're not getting projections for all the questionable guys right now, which I think makes sense because I don't want to give you guys data that would move around based upon if someone's in or out. But that is why we're getting less markets today. Wish the sort would work a little better, though. There's clearly the Cody Williams line should be one of the best ones. Here we go. All right, Cody Williams, value in under 3.5 rebounds today. Actually, 23.97%. So basically 24% EV on PrizePicks for Cody Williams. You're also getting value on his line on DK Sportsbook. Under 3.5 there, minus 125 odds, 20.8% EV. So good one no matter where you are betting. Cody Williams under 3.5 rebounds. He's projected for 2.9 today by Unabated. Bam Adebayo, 12.9% EV on under 9.5 rebounds for him as well. Minus 105 odds on that one. Get it at DK Sportsbook. Also playable on PrizePicks with 6.8% EV for under 9.5 rebounds at minus 118 odds there. Jordan Clarkson's a value on over 2.5 rebounds for him. 10% EV at minus 154 odds. So still pretty good EV despite a good shot at hitting at minus 154. So Jordan Clarkson, good one to have on that. And you cannot play it on PrizePicks and Underdog, it looks like. 8.3% EV on under 2.5 rebounds for Tim Hardaway. Plus 105 odds on DK Sportsbook right now. And Jalen Suggs, I think we hit on the points one for him. Value on over 4.5 rebounds for him on PrizePicks. 8.1% EV for Jalen Suggs. He's projected for 5.3 rebounds today by Unabated. You can see the lines. When they flash yellow, it means they're moving in real time. So that's how fast things go. Grab them while you can grab them if you see them on screen here. Assists. Let's go there next. Of course, we'll run the Stokastic sim last, but certainly not least. And again, Unabated itself, get $30 off all their monthly packages at unabated.com/NBA using that promo code SPLASH. Get your sweet little asses in there. Even if they're not sweet, get them in there. Terry Rozier, value on under 4.5 assists right now. You can add that to PrizePicks. 12.9% EV on Terry Rozier under 4.5 assists, despite Jimmy Butler being out. So interesting to see that. Jalen Johnson, value on the over. He should be ball dominant today for sure. Jalen Johnson, 12.1% EV on the FanDuel Sportsbook line, over 5.5, plus 122 odds. That is some good EV for Jalen Johnson, over 5.5 assists. Cody Williams, and he's projected for 5.8 for what it's worth. Cody Williams doesn't do much on the court. Value on the under, 1.5 assists for him. 10.3% EV on PrizePicks right now. So add that to your pick'em card. Jaden Ivey, value on under 4.5 assists on PrizePicks. 9.3% EV for PrizePicks right now, under 4.5. Jalen Duren, 7.5% EV on over 1.5 assists for him. He's currently questionable though. So if he were to not make it in though, wait, he was questionable before. He might be ruled in, I guess, because he was questionable before in the conditional projections, but now he's not. So actually might be a good one to run to right now, would be the over on Jalen Duren assists over 1.5. He does get some nice little DHO handoff kind of situations. Everything else here under the 8% line for Sim, but Dyson Daniels under 3.5 assists, plus 130 odds. That's still playable given it's a plus money bet. PRA is last but not least here. Should probably take a little more time going through these. I would like to find a way to look at Unabated's projections on like a full kind of fantasy point projection way. But it's hard to do that here because their projections come out as I'm on screen or on screen / on stream. But that's something I'm considering here to make this segment a little bit longer for Unabated, because I do think the Unabated projections offer you some real edge. Here's the good news, though. We're not mad at Unabated anymore. We're getting value on over 22.5 PRAs for John Collins. You're getting 14.8% EV for John Collins. Today, I will say I have him projected a little bit higher for all these categories. Weirdly, they have him higher projected for rebounds than I do. I've got him at 9 rebounds. They have him at 9.5. I've got him at 3.6 assists. They've got him at 1.2. I've got him at 18.7 points. They have him at 14.7. So those are if you wonder where my Collins difference is, that is where my Collins difference is in projection. And again, please feel free to defer to the much smarter sites than me, who just does it and hopefully does an okay job. Jalen Suggs value in over 25.5 PRA is 14.2% value. I don't know if there's any correlation really between value in DFS and value in a betting market, but these markets, or at least Unabated's projections, love the overs for Jalen Suggs today for whatever that's worth for you guys out there. And again, that one's playable on PrizePicks. And also, you still have 11.4% EV for Jalen Suggs, over 26.5 PRAs on DraftKings at minus 105 odds. And playable at Underdog, too, at over 26. Dyson Daniels, under 23.5 PRAs, 10% EV at minus 120 odds. Playable as well, or on the cusp of it, on PrizePicks and Underdog with 6.8% EV. And under 23 is the line for that. Colin Sexton, value on under 25.5. With having Jordan Clarkson back in, it feels like neither guy's getting there. These guys are both basically direct backups. Sexton, 9.3% EV on under 25.5. Available on PrizePicks right now. You can also get 8.5% EV on DraftKings Sportsbook at minus 120 odds under 25.5. Franz Wagner, value on the over, and we're getting to the range here sim-wise where maybe don't want to take it. 8% is generally the sim line, but anything over 2 in general, again, for like any EV, an expected value calculation is supposed to be playable. But from what I've been told, sim ones, you want to be closer to 8. Franz Wagner, though, you can play this one. Over 36.5, plus 100, 6.98%, 7% EV, we could call it, on DK Sportsbook. And those are your PRA bets for the day. And now let's hop over to the other world of sims. And again, please check out Unabated if you enjoy this content, guys, because they are directly supporting the show. Of course, you get affiliate fees for Stokastic as well, but make sure to go support all the sponsors if you can, because I would not be able to do the show if not thanks to their generosity and support of what I'm trying to do here on Splash Play. So please go love, give kisses, cuddles, and more importantly, your money to Unabated to get $30 off with the promo code SPLASH. Link in the description too if you want to go directly that way. And now Stokastic as well, 15% off too. So there we go. Those are your deals for the day. Oh, these deals don't get any better. Besides the deal you get if you subscribe here. Brand new channel here. This is our third week of doing streams here on @SplashPlayNBA. And look, I'm glad there's 40 of you watching live right now, but we got to keep getting those numbers up because this has got to become a real thing and got to be at least the size of the NFL channel. That's the goal. So please subscribe down below. Hit the like button if you watch after the fact. Leave a comment, even if it's a question or anything. Every day I do videos, I do lineups. So I'm doing lineups usually at the last minute like you are. But if you leave me a tag or something, I will always try to get back to you if I can. I got to remember to do it in a more timely fashion sometimes. Let's simulate our lineups. We built 5,000, and we'll simulate them 10,000 times. Today is a 100K tournament, 400K overall, so 25% the first place. And we will see what it gets simming out here. If only I had a video to run here for Stokastic as well. Shout out to Alex. Great show, my friend. Hopefully not the Alex that's upstairs from me right now. But I appreciate it, Alex. Great name. Great name. Very fuckable name based on my wife. And Alex Baker. Two very fuckable Alexes. Alex Dumas. There's got to be other. Alexander Sarr, if you're into that type. And those are the Alexes that come to mind. All right, let's see what we got here. I'd fuck Alex Baker. I mean, yeah, of course, the money, nothing else. But yeah, I mean, look, he's a great personality. And a fellow dad now. So we know he's fucking. Hopefully he takes this with the utmost respect, as I do love Alex. One of the first guys to help me cut my teeth in DFS. No better guy to help do that. Keaton Wallace, the Anthony Melton, Klay Thompson, Giannis, Yusuf Nurkic, Drew Holiday, Draymond Green, LaMelo Ball. That is your top ROI lineup. I was thinking Alex Keaton, but that's a character, right? That was him That was Michael J. Fox on Family Ties, right? So that's not a real one. And come for projection, stay for top fuckable ounces. Yeah, that's the games we play here. Your number 2 ROI lineup, Keaton Wallace again, Anthony Edwards, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, so double Hawks. Gogo Batadze, Steph Curry, Jaden McDaniels, and Yusuf Nurkic. Nurkic playing well, gets a little bit of a boost for the time that he will not have Kevin Durant on the court. So Nurkic, though, I think still questionable as at least before I started the stream. So one to watch out for Nurkic for sure. Keaton Wallace, Tyler Hero, Dyson Daniels, John Collins. There we go. All the sites supporting my John Collins craving. Yusuf Nurkic, Drew Holiday, Julius Randle, Steph Curry. That's number 3. Ryan Rollins. Hey, there we go. He makes it a number 4 here with Anthony Melton, Grayson Allen, Jalen Johnson, Mo Wagner, Devin Booker, Giannis, Yusuf Nurkic. Alex Trebek's a good one, but he's dead. So you got to come back with somebody who's alive. You can't go fictional and dead. You got to be real and alive. Keaton Wallace, your number 5 ROI lineup. Keaton Wallace, Anthony Edwards, Dyson Daniels, Draymond, Batadze, Curry, Beal, Nurkic. So right away, you could see every lineup includes Keaton Wallace or Ryan Rollins. So it does think you need to pay about $300 to $3,200 for one guy. Grayson Allen getting into one lineup here. That's another $3,700 guy. So you're only getting one value in most of these lineups, but at least one of them, you're getting 2 of the noteworthy values. It does seem like overall in the top 5, you're fading Grayson Allen besides that one. Across the top 150, your highest ROI players right now would be Yusuf Nurkic. That's not a person. I've never heard that name in my life. It could be somebody, but I don't know. That sounds completely made up. Lifeson. It's like somebody, like a name somebody would make up. Like they're looking around the room and it's like Lifeson. I'm Alex Lifeson. I'm sure it's a real person. Base player, Rush. Fine, but he's still not top 5. I put my Alex and Alex Baker above him. Yusuf Nurkic, your top ROI player right now, at a rounded up 7%. Mo Wagner, 0.4%. Everybody else skewing a little bit negative. So no standouts in terms of value here, but I'm sure that will not be in line with our exposures. 71% Nurk. With my projection set, which I ran right before the stream, so hopefully nothing has changed that much. I was getting Nurk in 2% of my lineup. So Stokastic and I see things differently. It's possible they moved the minutes or something. There was a projection update at 4:39. So it's possible they moved minutes around somehow and gave Nurk more minutes. But for right now, I do not agree with Nurk. And you know what? Fuck it. Just to see, I'm going to pull in their minutes projection real fast and just see how far off I would be. Because right now I have Nurkic at 28.4 fantasy points. They have him at 31.9. As of before the stream, and I pulled all the data in. And let's see if I update Nurkic's minutes. Sorry, guys. I am obsessed with like why this would be that far off. Yeah, I've still got Nurkic at 29.4. So I don't know what changed on their end, but something is making Nurkic come up a shitload. Nerf the Nurk. There we go. It's a lot of Nurkic. Keaton Wallace, again, I'm okay with. Worry a little bit about him just standing around watching guys do stuff, but he's probably going to get you 30 minutes. So I'm okay with the Keaton Wallace play today, even though for tournaments, happy to move away from him if you want. If you're putting one lineup in today, I would probably pick Keaton Wallace. If I'm putting in 2, that second one, I probably would not have Keaton Wallace in it. D'Anthony Melton, another good value play, getting him in 47% of lineups. Gogo Batadze getting him in 47. Giannis in 47. So you were getting him, daycare time. You were getting less Giannis than you would expect. For the stream, I was getting Giannis at about 70% of lineups. So I'm shocked to see that he's a little bit lower here. And honestly, I don't know why he would be, but there you go. Devin Booker getting him in 35% flat with the field on that. Jalen Johnson, 29% compared to 12. So getting him about 2.5 times the field. Tyler Hero, 29% compared to 13. So getting him a little bit more than 2x the field. Dyson Daniels, 25 compared to 10. So about 2.5x the field on him. Less of Grayson Allen, 23 compared to 34. Draymond, 22 compared to 10. And LaMelo, 22 compared to 10 as well. So wanting you to get a little more LaMelo. Honestly, I'm shocked that they have Giannis at a 66.7 projection, only getting them on half a lineup. So I'm shocked by the Nurk thing. I'm shocked by the lack of Giannis. I think Giannis a key play for me today. I guess at the end, I should do some kind of summary here. Look, the plays I'm going to be the most above the field on, and the one that I'm projecting highest, maybe that's what I'll just show you guys at the end is like, I could show you which ones I project higher than the Stokastic projection is maybe the move, because that's probably my biggest stands. John Collins, I like more than the field. Wallace, I'm okay with Keaton Wallace, but I do have concerns there. That said, he does project well for me. Ryan Rollins, if he starts, I think is a play I'm just going to smash in no matter what. Like, I think Ryan Rollins, like the way he plays, like what I've seen of him, even though the rates are not fantastic. I'd have him at 1 fantasy point per minute today if he were to go. If he starts, I'm playing him. If he's coming off the bench, I'm not going to play him. But that's what key one for me. And I think that's sort of the main ones for me. You guys might have identified some more as we went. Towns, I like more than the field. Bitadze with the field. Brandon Miller more than the field a little bit. Bam Adebayo more than the field. That's kind of the key stands here for me. So I think it's a fun slate. I like the NBA Cup when they have the wacky courts. So I'm looking forward to watching some of these games. After I watched the Penguin with the wife today, finally got to catch the finale, so no fucking spoilers. But besides that, guys, it's been a fun video here for me. Hope it's been a good one for you. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Of course, your engagements go a long way for here. This is a brand new channel, and I'm trying to make it look good for both my partners at Unabated and Stokastic, as well as for myself to keep growing this, making it something valuable, and be able to monetize it too. So please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please come back tomorrow at 4 p.m. No deeper dive appearance for me today, but I will be back tomorrow for this one and the deeper dive on Stokastic after that. So I'll see you guys then. Enjoy your days. Gamble responsibly, even though it's always money time. And of course, good luck. See you guys soon. And bye-bye.